The gramophone is pretty cool. I mean, just look and hear it. It's literally music recorded on a flat plastic plate. You put a needle on it, it rotates, and produces sound. How's that even possible? Is it some sort of witchcraft? Alien tech? Well, no, it's neither. There's actually a little orchestra of people in the gramophone, which gives an illusion that the sound is playing from the plastic disc, but actually they are playing and singing. Of course, that's a joke. I mean, it'd be a bit cruel to stick a bunch of tiny humans in there forever, but like I said, it's a joke. Not that anybody would believe it. Anyway, how it plays is really fascinating and maybe a bit confusing to understand. Let's go back to the concept of sound. To understand, first we have to look at sound. What is sound? Sound is simply a vibration. For example, imagine you're speaking into a big horn that has a stretched out balloon at the end. The balloon will vibrate along with your words, and that vibration is the same vibration that your eardrum produces to make sound. Now imagine you taped a pencil that would vibrate with the balloon. If I were to place a piece of paper against the pencil, we would see something that appears to be meaningless scribbles. No surprise there. Now, if I move the paper at a steady pace, you would notice these less useless scribbles. Congrats, you have successfully recorded your voice. The scribble on the paper represents the sound waves or vibration you created by speaking into the horn. But there's obviously no way to play it back. After all, how do you expect what is essentially just a piece of paper to play back? But what if it was something more than just a piece of paper? And what if we created a 3D line as opposed to a 2D one? That's what these people accomplished in the 1800s when they invented the gramophone. Let's say Shakira sings into that big horn mentioned earlier. That would direct the sound onto a diaphragm. This diaphragm, which is essentially just a fancy balloon from before, works alongside a stylus or needle, which is used to cut the vibrations into a wax record, creating the desired bumps and 3D line. You can then create a metal record by giving your wax recording a warm, tiny chemical bath, and boom, you have a record. You'd then use this metal record as a stamp to use on old plastic frisbees, and boom, you now have a record with the music. And this now goes back to the original question, how do we play and hear it? The process is really simple. We literally just have to do everything backwards. First, you spin the disc at the same speed you spun the wax record when recording. Then drop the needle into the groove, and the bumps and valleys are going to cause that needle to make the same vibrations as the needle that recorded the original sound. The needle is connected to the diaphragm, and that diaphragm is going to make the exact same vibrations as the original recording. And remember, sound is vibration. So all we need to do to amplify that vibration is just to add a comically big a horn, and you'll get the exact same sound made by your favorite Shakira. But hey, modern record players don't use big horns, so how is the sound louder? Easy, my student. Modern record players are a little bit more digital. Instead of a horn, we now have speakers, and instead of a balloon, it's a copper coil vibrating in between two magnets as the copper coil moves between the two magnets. It creates electricity that goes to a speaker, creating sound. But now it's the 80s, and nobody cares about vinyls. It's now the era of cassette tapes. Oh yeah, my favorite! And this is where it gets interesting too. How the heck do you record music to that thin tape-looking material? How the heck do you put Michael Jackson there? The answer is magnets. In fact, the actual process is kind of a futuristic magnetic version of a vinyl. Step 1. Record some music. You aren't going to sing into some big horn. No. You're going to sing into a microphone. How can a microphone capture your he's and ha-has? Well, let's see what's inside. Opening it up, you'll find a diaphragm that vibrates when you speak into it, just like the balloon. The diaphragm is either connected to a copper coil like before, or connected to a capacitor, which is basically just a fancy plate. As you speak, the diaphragm moves, and this vibration changes the distance, causing a change in stored energy, resulting in different strengths of electricity. Step 2. Magnets. So now we have electricity. How does this help us? We can just think of the electricity as the pencil in our original example, and that makes the magnetic tape the paper. The recording head is the point of contact. The different strengths of electricity make changes to the magnetic field on the tape surface. This creates a little pattern of magnetization that almost exactly replicates the original sound wave. But now, how do we read said magnetization? Well, just like before, we do all of this backwards. Put your tape into a boombox and there will be a playback head there too, which the tape passes over as it plays. The changes in the magnetic field on the tape make an electrical signal. This is the same signal that was made when recording. The electricity is sent to a speaker, which has a diaphragm just like the microphone, creating a big ol' vibration, and thus, you hear the sweet harmony of Michael Jackson's hee-hee. But now nobody listens to Michael Jackson. Only old boomers do that. No offense, guys. Welcome to the 90s, baby. Instead of vinyls and thin tapes, now we store music and information on round, shiny CD discs. We use a microphone in this fat ring that functions exactly like it did before, but this time we take that electricity and turn it into ones and zeros that represent the original sound wave. That's a lot of words, so how the freak do we do that? By looking at the voltage. For instance, we give it a 0 if it's this low and a 1 if it's this high. Now, we use a tiny laser to transfer these ones and zeros to a disc, where a pit represents a 1 and an untouched area a 0. Because the pits and lands are so tiny, the disc seems smooth. Now, if you insert this disc into your old dusty optical CD drive on your PC, old PC moment, it will read it. A laser will bounce off the CD. If there's a pit, it will bounce a little differently and record a 1. If there's a flat surface, it will bounce the same and record a 0. By using a digital to analog converter, but you can just call it DAC for short. Depending on whether it reads a 0 or a 1, DAC will produce a specific amount of electricity. This produces the same electric stream that was in the microphone during the initial recording, and it is transmitted to a speaker with a diaphragm that vibrates in response to electrical input, resulting in your favorite Shakira now being on a CD. Isn't it interesting how technology advanced over time, providing us with more modern formats such as CDs, cassettes, and vinyl? And what's going to be our next big advancement? And what are we going to put our favorite Shakiras and Michael Jacksons? Only time will tell as our tech gets more and more advanced, and of course, also fascinating and interesting. And of course, it'll provide us with more work to research everything and compile it into a simple script in English. But if you enjoyed our little excursion into the past of how sound works, we'd really love it if you'd consider subscribing and liking the video. It's 2 simple clicks, only takes about 5 seconds, and it's free. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. I sure hope you enjoyed me taking this time to fill your brains with knowledge about sound of the past. Until we meet again, have a beautiful day, you beautiful bastards.